Don't allow yourself to be scammed when leasing a car. Unfortunately, it's more common than you think because leasing a car can be very complex. And the dealers know this, so they can use this to their advantage whenever they like. And I'm definitely not trying to imply that all car dealers are scam artists, but no matter what, I feel you should be knowledgeable about the process and what it entails. And also, when I'm saying scam, I'm not always referring to something that means it's absolutely illegal to do. But in my opinion, unethical practices, misleading people, and the bait and switch are all classified as scams to me. So I put together this top 10 list for you to look out for to make sure you don't get scammed when you're trying to lease your car. So the first thing to look out for is the money factor lie. The money factor is just the number that represents the cost of financing the lease. It's very similar to an interest rate, but it's expressed differently. It's usually expressed as a decimal number, and sometimes dealers use this number to make it seem like you're getting a better deal than you actually are. So what happens is the dealer presents you with a money factor associated with your lease. And we're going to assume the money factor is 0.004 in this example. So this will give you a visual of what an actual money factor looks like when it's actually expressed on paper. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with the money factor at all. The problem occurs when you're given this money factor as if it represents a 4% interest rate. And it's very easy to lead someone to believe that. And leading someone to believe that that money factor represents an interest rate is extremely wrong and is furthest thing from the truth. So to turn that money factor into an estimated interest rate, you're going to have to take that 0.004 and multiply it by 2400. And when you do that, you'll come up with an interest rate that's around 9.6%. And you can see that's more than double the 4% that was told to you. So now that you know the truth, you can make your own assessment if the 9.6 interest rate is something you want to move forward with or not. Now the next thing you want to look out for is the early termination fee. This is important because life always can take an unexpected turn, so you want to know what your options are when it comes to this lease. So you may simply ask the dealer, what happens if I actually terminate my lease early? And they may tell you you have to pay an early termination fee somewhere between $200 and $400. And in your mind, you may feel that's reasonable because you are terminating your lease early and giving them the car back. So you may feel that relieves you with some of the commitment and some of the risks that may be associated with you signing the lease. Because now in your mind, you have an extra strategy if everything hits the fan. Now the problem here is, although they did tell you about the early termination fee that's going to cost you a few $100s, they may not tell you about the early termination charge, which is completely different and completely not associated with the fee at all. The early termination charge is usually the difference between what you still owe on the lease and the current value of the car. So suppose your lease termination payoff is $16,000 and you're going to get credit for the value of the car, which is $14,000. Your early termination charge will be the $16,000 minus the $14,000, so out of pocket you'd have to pay $2,000, and that's in addition to that early termination fee they told you about. And on top of that, the charge may include other fees like vehicle disposition fees and taxes. So just remember, the earlier you terminate your lease, the higher your termination charge will probably be. So now another area you want to pay attention to is your down payment or your trade-in. Now I made another video talking about why I don't recommend doing a trade-in or making a down payment, and I'll link it to this video. But in most cases, the dealer will allow you to trade in your car if you'd like to. Or maybe you still decide that making a down payment is the direction you want to head in. Either way, you want to pay close attention to the paperwork and the numbers behind the deal. Because as unbelievable as it may sound, a dealer can actually steal your trade-in or your down payment right in front of your eyes. So the process of altering the capital cost reduction of a lease is unfortunately a tactic that's been used widely to deceive people. So if you do have a trade-in or you plan to put down payment on your lease, it's critical that you make sure that your actual lease contract reflects you actually adding that money to the lease. So the capitalization cost of the lease should be reduced by how much the trade-in value is or how much you put down on the lease. But some shady dealers do not put that in the contract. So literally your contract will read as if there was no trade-in or no down payment that existed at all. So if you're only focused on looking at the monthly payments, it can be really easy to overlook that discrepancy, and the dealer just profits thousands of dollars depending on how much you put as a down payment or how much the car value was. So you have to review your lease contract and make sure all relevant information is included in the lease before you actually sign it. So now we're going to move on to the warranty scam. This is yet another tactic done by shady dealers to increase their profits at your expense. So what they'll do is simply add an extended warranty straight to your lease. And it seems like that makes perfect sense. Because of course, they don't want you to have to worry about ever paying out of pocket if something were to go wrong with that car. And I'm not against warranties at all. I actually think warranties are a really good thing to have. But what I am against is the fact that they don't tell you that an extended warranty is already included in your lease. So there's absolutely no point in paying for an additional extended warranty on top of that. And to make things worse, sometimes the warranty that they're charging you for is longer than the actual lease itself. Meaning if you have a lease that's 36 months long, they're not only charging you for a warranty that you don't even need, but they're charging you for a warranty that lasts 48 months, which of course is more expensive, leading to more profits for the dealer. So you definitely have to be aware of this one. So the next situation you want to look out for happens when the dealer agrees to take over your current lease payments in order to close you on a new lease. Now this may lead to several potential issues because the dealer may make it seem like they're going to take on full responsibility for your current lease. But unfortunately, that's not necessarily the case. So in reality, what the dealer's actually doing is just taking over the remaining payments that you have. And then they'll return the car back to the leasing company once the lease term is over. Now, if there are any problems that occur with that car when it is dropped off, like it's over mileage or there's damage, they're going to hold you personally accountable, not the dealer. Because remember, the dealer's actually taking possession of that car. So if it happened to get driven and it goes beyond the mileage, that's 100% on you, not them. Also, if the dealer fails to make the remaining payments or does not return the car back to the dealer as agreed, the leasing company will hold you responsible, not the actual dealer. And more than likely, the new dealer is going to find a way to incorporate those remaining payments into your new lease deal. Meaning they will not really be making those remaining payments. You'll be making those remaining payments plus the payments on your new lease. So it's very important to understand what could go wrong if this is something that you definitely want to consider. Now, the next thing that's on my list of unethical tactics are around your lease term. During the negotiation process, you'll be given several quotes on paper and verbally. And once you guys finally agree on a number that works for everybody involved, make sure you make a personal note of that somewhere. And the reason is because people are mainly focused on the monthly payment, and that's it. And because the dealer knows this, it's easy for them to adjust the final documents before it's time for you to sign them. So you may agree to pay $400 a month for 36 months. But on the paperwork you actually sign, you're going to pay $400 a month for 48 months. And more than likely, you won't recognize the discrepancy until the 36 months is up and it's time to turn that car in. And then you'll be forced to keep it for 12 months longer than you anticipated. And at that point, it won't even matter what was told to you inside the dealer verbally. Because unfortunately, the only thing that will matter is what's on the final paperwork that has your signature on it. And this is the ultimate bait and switch right here. Okay, so the next one I want to cover is just a flat out lie. And that's when the dealer is trying to make you believe they're giving you a better deal by saying you're not going to have to pay a security deposit. So what you must know is that the security deposit is already included in your lease. So what they really mean to say to you is that they're not going to charge you twice for a security deposit, which is so nice of them to do, right? Also, the dealer has the ability to zero out a fee and just add it back to the lease under a different name. So if you run across an area that says no charge at all, make sure you pay attention to see if it's added somewhere else under a different name. Now the next one falls under the same category as the previous one as a flat out lie. And this is a scenario where the dealer raises the MSRP of the car. And the MSRP is just the purchasing price of the car. And although you're not purchasing the car, the MSRP is still the foundation for all the cost of the lease. So the higher the MSRP starts at, the higher all the other associated fees will be. So what happens is the dealer alters the price of the MSRP after they've already done the negotiations with you. Now the law does require that the price of the car be listed in the contract, but a lot of times people don't even know what they should be looking for anyways. So as a result, the dealer can raise the MSRP by thousands of dollars and you won't even notice. And in an event you do catch a discrepancy and you do call them out on it, all they'll tell you is it's a mistake and they'll fix the paperwork right away. Now at that point, you know exactly what you're dealing with, so you can make a decision on what you want to do moving forward. Now, the next thing on my list isn't necessarily a lie, but it's definitely setting you up for failure. Because you have to understand the dealer is going to use several tactics and almost anything they can do to get you into that lease. So one thing they may do is give you an unrealistic mileage limit. And the reason that's so bad is because they know for sure you're not going to drive less than that mileage, so you're going to be charged an excessive fee on every single mile you go over that limit. And unfortunately, the fees can range from 10 cents to 30 cents per individual mile you drive over the limit. And you'd be surprised how fast that can add up to hundreds of dollars and even thousands of dollars in fees once it's time to turn your car in. So with this, they're definitely playing a long game because they know they'll receive those excess fees on the back end of the lease. So if it seems like all of a sudden the dealer was able to lower the monthly cost of the lease, just be on alert that something may have been adjusted that may not work in your favor long term. And then we have the upselling of additional features. These are additional features added to your lease without you even having knowledge they exist. And these could be under several various categories. And I can't express to you enough about how important it is to actually take your time, don't feel rushed, and actually review your lease contract. And don't be afraid to ask questions at all, because whatever you sign is what you'll be locked into. So if nothing else, hopefully this video helps you understand that you will be dealing with professional number crunchers. So because of that, you have to understand you have to go into this situation as equipped as possible. And hopefully this video was able to help you a little bit in that area. So don't forget to follow for more financial content, and I will see you in the next video.